Military veterans don't mess around with food storage. While everyone else is buying freeze-dried meals at $40 a pouch, people with actual field experience are stacking shelves with items that cost pennies per serving and outlast their grandchildren. 11 foods. Real shelf life data. Zero marketing garbage. Let's break it down. White rice in 50-pound bags. You're looking at roughly $30 at any bulk supplier. Costco, Sam's Club, restaurant supply stores. Here's what that math actually means. 50 pounds of white rice stored properly in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers will remain edible for 30 years minimum. That's not a guess. That's USDA food science. 2,000 calories per pound. You just bought 100,000 calories for 30 bucks. 3 cents per 100 calories. Show me any other food source that touches that ratio. You can't because it doesn't exist. Storage is dead simple. Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, 5-gallon buckets. Seal it, stack it, forget about it. Veterans know this because rice formed the caloric backbone of military rations across every major conflict since World War II. When everything else runs out, rice remains. Dried pinto beans. 10-pound bags run you $8 to $12. Protein content sits at roughly 21%. Shelf life in proper storage exceeds 50 years. That's not theoretical. Mormon food storage programs have documentation of beans remaining viable after half a century in climate-controlled conditions. The protein density is what matters here. Animal protein disappears fast during supply disruptions. Beans don't. You're getting fiber, complex carbohydrates, and enough protein to prevent muscle wasting during caloric restriction. Soak them overnight, cook them the next day. One 10-pound bag feeds a person for 2 weeks if rationed correctly. Stack 6 bags and you've got 3 months of protein for $70. Now here's where it gets interesting. Salt, not table salt, pool salt, water softener salt. You're walking into any hardware store and grabbing 40-pound bags of sodium chloride for $6. Same chemical compound as table salt, different label. Food-grade pool salt is chemically identical to the salt in your kitchen. 40 pounds for $6 versus $3 for a 1-pound container at the grocery store. Salt never expires. Never. It's a mineral. Humans need roughly 500 milligrams of sodium daily just to maintain cellular function. Beyond that, salt preserves meat, cures fish, and maintains electrolyte balance during physical stress. One 40-pound bag represents years of use for a family. Veterans stockpile this because field experience teaches you that salt shortages happen faster than food shortages in every historical collapse scenario. Siege of Leningrad, post-war Japan, Venezuelan crisis. Salt became currency. Honey, raw, unfiltered honey in 5-pound containers. You're paying $25 to $35 depending on source. Archaeologists have recovered 3,000-year-old honey from Egyptian tombs, still edible. Honey doesn't spoil. The sugar content and low moisture create an environment where bacteria cannot survive. It's biologically impossible for honey to rot. Beyond preservation, you're looking at immediate energy. Simple sugars that hit your bloodstream in minutes. Wound care applications through antibacterial properties, sore throat relief, cough suppressant that matches over-the-counter medication in clinical studies. One container provides multiple functions across years of storage. No refrigeration, no special handling, infinite shelf life. Powdered milk. This one separates people who read blogs from people who actually use their stockpile. Instant non-fat dry milk in bulk bags. 20 pounds costs roughly $40. Reconstituted, that's 20 gallons of milk. Shelf life hits 20 years when stored in sealed containers with oxygen absorbers, calcium, protein, vitamin D. You're covering nutritional gaps that destroy health during long-term grain-based diets. Military veterans watched this play out in extended deployments. Vitamin deficiencies show up faster than starvation. Powdered milk prevents that collapse without requiring cold storage or electrical infrastructure. Mix it with water. Use it in cooking. Add it to coffee. 20 pounds handles a family for months. Rolled oats. 50-pound bags at restaurant supply stores run $30 to $40. Oats stored in Mylar with oxygen absorbers remain viable for 30 years. 1,500 calories per pound, you just secured 75,000 calories for 35 bucks. Breakfast, baking base, thickening agent for soups, livestock feed if you're running animals. The fiber content matters more than people realize. Grain-heavy diets without fiber create digestive shutdown. Oats prevent that while delivering sustained energy release that keeps you functional during physical work. One bag, multiple uses, decades of storage. Pasta, dried semolina pasta in bulk. 20-pound cases cost $25. Shelf life exceeds 20 years in proper storage. Pasta gives you fast cooking times with minimal fuel consumption. That matters when you're burning through firewood or propane. Boil water, cook for 8 minutes, you're done. Carbohydrate density provides work energy. Pair it with beans, and you've got complete amino acid profiles. Pair it with canned tomatoes, and you've got comfort food that maintains morale. Never underestimate morale. Extended crisis situations break people mentally before they break physically. Familiar food prevents that deterioration. Wheat berries, whole grain wheat in 50-pound bags, $35. Shelf life approaches 40 years. Here's the capability shift most people miss. Wheat berries require a grain mill, but once you've got that set up, you're producing fresh flour on demand. Bread, tortillas, pasta, thickening for stews. The nutritional profile of fresh ground flour versus store-bought is night and day. You're getting oils, vitamins, and fiber that oxidize within weeks of industrial milling. Whole berries preserve everything until you grind them. One bag, a hand crank mill, and you've got bakery capability for decades. That's not survival, that's food independence. We're 4 items away from the complete list. What's coming next isn't just food, it's the items that make everything else actually usable when infrastructure disappears. Salt, not table salt, pool salt, sodium chloride in 40-pound bags sitting in the pool supply section. $8, read the label, 99% pure sodium chloride. That's identical to food-grade salt minus the anti-caking agents you don't need anyway. 40 pounds of mineral preservation capacity for less than 10 bucks. Food preservation through curing and brining. Electrolyte replacement when mixed into water. Dental hygiene through saltwater rinses. Wound cleaning before modern antiseptics existed. Tanning hides if you're processing game. One bag covers years of use across 5 critical applications. Compare that to grocery store salt at $1 per pound. The math isn't close. During every major historical siege, salt became currency. It preserved meat when refrigeration didn't exist. It kept armies fed across continents. Nothing has changed about human biology or food chemistry since then. Salt still works exactly the same way. Baking soda. Commercial 50-pound bags from restaurant suppliers, $25. Shelf life is permanent when kept dry. Fire suppression for grease fires. Tooth cleaning. Antacid for stomach issues. Deodorizer for living spaces and storage areas. Cleaning agent that handles everything from cookware to laundry. Fungicide for crops when mixed with water and soap. You're looking at 6 functions from one compound that costs 50 cents per pound. Aluminum-free if you're selective about sourcing. Keep it sealed and it outlasts you. Medical-grade applications without medical-grade pricing. Vinegar, white distilled vinegar in gallon jugs. Restaurant supply pricing puts it around $12 per case of 4 gallons. Acetic acid at 5% concentration. That percentage matters because it makes vinegar a legitimate disinfectant, not folklore. Food preservation through pickling. Surface disinfection. Weed killer when applied directly to unwanted plants. Laundry additive that strips odors from fabric. Cooking acid for flavor balance and meat tenderizing. Calcium deposit removal from cookware and water containers. 7 uses from 1 liquid. Industrial history backs this up. Vinegar was standard issue in military field kits before modern chemicals existed. It worked then. It works now. Bleach, plain sodium hypochlorite. No scents, no additives. Gallon jugs run $3. Shelf life is roughly 6 months at full strength, then it degrades into salt water. Here's what people miss. Rotate your stock every 6 months and you've got permanent water purification capability. 8 drops per gallon of clear water, 16 drops if the water's cloudy. Wait 30 minutes. You just made questionable water safe to drink. 1 gallon of bleach purifies thousands of gallons of water. Surface disinfection for medical equipment or food prep areas. Mold killer. Laundry sanitizer during sickness outbreaks. The chlorine smell is the indicator it's working. When that smell fades, the chemical potency is gone. Replace it. $3 every 6 months for water security is math that requires no debate. Propane, 20-pound tanks, $40 filled, $18 for refills. Here's the efficiency calculation. One tank provides roughly 10 hours of cooking time on a standard 2-burner camp stove. Heating capability without electrical dependency. Cooking fuel that works in freezing temperatures when other options fail. Light source when paired with propane lanterns. 4 tanks handle a month of cooking for a family. Propane doesn't degrade in storage. Tanks last decades. This isn't backup. This is primary cooking infrastructure the moment the grid drops. Every natural disaster proves the same pattern. Gas stations close. Electricity fails. People with propane keep cooking. Duct tape. Commercial-grade rolls, $8, tensile strength rated for industrial applications. Temporary repair for tarps, tents, water containers, clothing, boots, tools, shelter frames. Blister prevention when applied to hot spots before they tear open. Improvised cordage by twisting strips. Medical applications for securing bandages or splints. One roll handles dozens of critical repairs. It's not permanent, but permanent isn't the requirement during crisis. Functional is the requirement. Duct tape keeps things functional. Contractor garbage bags, 50-count boxes of 3 mil thickness, $20. Waterproof gear storage, improvised rain poncho when you cut head and arm holes. Ground cloth under sleeping areas, emergency shelter material, waste management during sanitation failure, liner for water storage containers, body bag if the situation reaches that point. Nobody wants to think about the last one. Think about it anyway. Preparedness means accounting for worst-case reality, not best-case hope. 12 items. Preserved food that lasts decades, salt that built empires, chemicals that purify and disinfect, fuel that works when everything else stops. Under $300 total. You just bought years of operational capability while most people are stockpiling freeze-dried meals that run out in weeks. The difference between surviving and thriving isn't gear. It's understanding what actually matters when systems collapse. You've got the list. Tractor supply, restaurant supply stores, pool suppliers, everything is already there. Most people walk past it every week seeing products. You're seeing infrastructure. That shift in perspective is what separates preparation from panic. Now, you know what veterans know? Most people will watch this and change nothing. They'll keep scrolling, keep buying overpriced kits, keep thinking preparedness starts tomorrow. You're not most people. You already know which store you're hitting this weekend. The gap between knowing and doing is where most preparation dies. Close that gap. Stack these items now while they're boring and available, not later when they're critical and gone. The veterans who've been doing this for years didn't wait for permission or perfect timing. Neither should you.